It's so good to be back. All right, guys. Coach Paris here. I'm super tired. I'm super tired today. Like I'm not gonna fake the funk. I've been standing on my feet for the last 4 to 5 hours because I wanted to save $250 to $350 doing my own hair, which cost me actually $16 and some time. So wow, I still feel like it was worth it. Like my body is paying for it, but in all honesty, I was sore before this. So with all that said and done, welcome to my channel. I am Coach Paris. If you are new here, I hope I'm able to add some value, some direction to your life. If you are returning, thank you for tuning back in for another discussion. Today we are talking about bridging the gap. You know what I mean? Like, we never have spoken about that painful area when you are trying to kill your old self while you are intentionally trying to become this new character, right? Like, we never talk about when you're on that bridge and how comfortable and painful it is because your default, your old ways seem to pop up sometimes. So yeah, let's talk about it. Hopefully I am able to add some helpful tips to help you, you know, bridge that gap. So yes, let's jump into it. And excuse me guys, today I'm in my pajamas. It is about 10:18 and I'm about to take another shower, but yes, I am in my pajamas because it's just been a long day. I don't like to show up on my channel where I like to be a professional any kind of way, so I felt the need to kind of save face, right? Okay, now with all of that said and done, I just want to talk about my specific journey at first because I know when you are going through or when you make the decision that you are wanting to implement these changes, right? When you are deciding and when you've decided and picked your character, now it's time to pick up on these characteristics, right? To change your behaviors. And that's not always easy. No, that's not easy, period. It's not easy because you have a default, right? This is your nature to react instead of respond, right? Honestly, so by nature, you're gonna have your default character pop up and it's gonna throw you off. And then you're gonna start feeling disappointed and you're gonna start feeling that this is impossible. And I guarantee you, we all have been there, we all go through it. So with that just tidbit of information, I mean, I can empathize and I can sympathize because I have too went through the same thing, and I honestly thought it was the end of the world. I started to guilt myself. I was very disappointed, and I realized that I was even dabbling in a lower frequency than what I wanted to do, and I had to hurry up and pull myself out of that because it can creep up on you quickly, right? So what do we do? Like, what do we do when we're uncomfortable and we have to, and we're in the middle of a battle? Like, what do we do when we are called to be silenced, when we are called to be the bigger person, when we are called to harmonize situations and create peace? Like, what do we do, especially when that's not our first nature? And I'll be honest, that wasn't my first nature anymore because for years I had been miserable, and that's just the truth. Like, I have been miserable. You all know misery loves company, and that doesn't mean like I was miserable for like 10-15 years straight, but there were long gaps in those years where I was more miserable than I was happy. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to look at this process as a death and a rebirth, right? Because like I said, it's natural, it's normal for you to grieve the old character, your default character. It's natural for you to do it because why? You have that little personality, your ego here, which is always telling you what to do. This ego, the ego knows it all, right? It knows too much for its own good. So its job here is to create a resistance, right? To kind of throw you off. Why? Because the ego is there to sustain you in survival mode. So what do we think about when we say survival mode? To keep us alive. To me, survival mode is the bare minimum. We're trying, right? We're getting away from, we're not trying, we're getting away from survival mode because we are elevating to abundance, to prosperity. So we don't need to entertain our ego because it's doing its job. It's going to create a resistance. It's going to pop back up at the most inconvenient times. And our job is to be aware. Our job is to be in control. So how do we do that? Well, we're definitely going to get into it. But first, let's find out if you have these characteristics, these symptoms. Like, are you mourning? Do you feel sad? Do you feel sometimes where you're doubting the process and it's harder for you to kind of break away from these friend circles that no longer serve you? And guys, I know for me, honestly, a lot of times I just felt alone. Like, I really went through like short bouts of depression, short bouts of confusion, but overall I really felt a sense of loneliness because I was purging my old self, my old behaviors, my old way of thinking. And when you are going through this transformation in certain periods, you do have to sit alone in awareness. And with this awareness, I want you to identify your feelings. I want you to identify your emotions and how you would typically react and respond to certain situations. And I want you to identify protection mechanisms that you have in place. Because see, the reason that you feel so uncomfortable, the reason that this process seems so painful is because you're dealing with it, right? These things are now coming to the surface. They're coming to the forefront. And when things start to come to the surface, it gets pretty ugly, right? It gets what do they say? It gets bad before it gets good. Yeah, because this is the actual start of the healing process. This is the actual process. And this can take a few weeks, a few months, maybe a few years for some people. Like, it really and truly is a process. And during this time, it requires an abundant amount of TLC, an abundant amount of nurturing, right? Because it could be you trying to nurture and care for the inner child in you, right? The wounded, traumatic, past events that you have been through. So there is a lot of nurturing that has to be done in this period. And of course, you have to be patient. You have to be patient with yourself, right? Because one, you're worth it. You're worth it. And most importantly, I want you to know that it's okay to mourn and grieve. It's okay to mourn this old self, right? Because it is setting you up for your rebirth. You are right here doing the work for your rebirth. It's okay to break down these walls. Give yourself space to mourn, because this death signifies your rebirth. So I hope you have an understanding that what you're feeling, it's normal. It is to be expected when you are coming into becoming your new person, when you are becoming, right? It is to be expected, and take your time with it, right? Take your time. Although it is an unenjoyable process, the perspective in knowing that you don't have to do this again. If you choose not to, right? You don't have to do this ever again. We are killing these old patterns, these old behaviors, these old reactive, characteristics, and we are becoming our new character, full of harmony, full of peace, full of joy, full of kindness, right? Full of prosperity, full of abundance. And I'm rooting for you. I'm rooting for you. So, guys, please feel free to leave me some comments below. Let me know if you have experienced similar feelings, or emotions that have kind of made you, gloomy, while you are intentionally working to elevate and become a better version of you. If you like this video, please interact with me in some type of way, engage, give me a thumbs up, let me know how I'm doing. Don't forget to leave your feedback or a comment below, and hit the subscribe button if you are new here and I was able to add some type of value to your life. And don't forget to share for a friend, a family member, or a loved one who may be going through this death and rebirth process. Until next time,